On May 16, 1868, the Senate voted on whether to remove a sitting president from office. 35-19, one vote short. By the end of this video, you'll know the real reason they wanted him out, who prosecuted him, and why the law they used against him didn't even survive the century. Andrew Johnson became president in April 1865, after Lincoln's assassination. He was a Southern Democrat from Tennessee, put on Lincoln's ticket for wartime unity, not a member of Lincoln's own party. Johnson's Reconstruction policy was lenient toward former Confederates and openly hostile to black civil rights. He opposed giving black men the right to vote. In February 1866, he vetoed the Freedmen's Bureau Bill. He vetoed the Civil Rights Act. Congress overrode his vetoes more than any president before him, and in direct response to his obstruction, pushed through the 14th Amendment. This is the actual motive behind impeachment. Radical Republicans in Congress wanted Johnson out over Reconstruction policy, not a technicality. But opposing Reconstruction isn't a crime. They needed something they could actually charge him with. March 1867. Congress passes the Tenure of Office Act, a law built specifically to box Johnson in. It bars the president from removing certain officials, including cabinet secretaries, without the Senate's consent. The obvious target was Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, a Lincoln holdover who sided with Congress against Johnson and fed information straight to the radical Republicans. Johnson suspended Stanton in August 1867 while the Senate was in recess, technically allowed under the law's own terms. That wasn't enough for him. On February 21, 1868, with the Senate back in session, Johnson fired Stanton outright, no Senate consent. A direct, unambiguous violation of the exact law built to catch him doing exactly this. 3 days later, the House voted to impeach. 126-47. 11 articles, most of them centered on the Tenure of Office Act. Here's where this connects directly to the story of the 14th Amendment. John Bingham, the same congressman who wrote its core language, was named chairman of the House impeachment managers. The men prosecuting Johnson in the Senate trial were led by the man who wrote the amendment Johnson had spent 2 years fighting. March 5, 1868. The Senate trial opens, Chief Justice Salmon Chase presiding. Closing arguments ran into early May. Bingham delivered his closing speech on May 6th. By contemporary accounts, the Senate gallery broke into applause when he finished. May 16, 1868. The Senate votes on the strongest article first. 35 guilty, 19 not guilty. Conviction needed 36. 10 days later, on the remaining articles, the same result. 35-19 again. The Senate adjourned the trial without voting on the rest. Johnson survived by exactly 1 vote. That vote belonged to Republican Senator Edmund Ross of Kansas. He was expected to vote for conviction right up until the night before. When he broke from his own party, the chamber was reportedly stunned. Historians still don't agree on why. Some think Ross had genuine constitutional doubts about the Tenure of Office Act. Some think he was worried that removing Johnson would hand the presidency to a political rival back home in Kansas. Some later research alleges he may have taken money from Johnson's allies, though that claim remains disputed, not proven. Nobody has settled which explanation is true. Here's the part almost nobody knows. The Tenure of Office Act, the law Johnson nearly lost the presidency over, didn't last. It was weakened under Grant and fully repealed in 1887. In 1926, the Supreme Court went further. In a case called Myers v. United States, the court ruled that a president has an inherent constitutional power to remove executive branch officials without the Senate's consent. Chief Justice William Howard Taft, a former president himself, wrote the opinion. That's the exact power the Tenure of Office Act had taken away from Johnson. Andrew Johnson came within 1 vote of being removed from the presidency for violating a law that the Supreme Court later said Congress never had the constitutional authority to pass in the first place. The vote that saved him is still debated. The law that nearly ended him didn't survive the century. If you want the next hidden clause behind the laws that shaped this country, like this video and subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.